Another episode of Web3 Masterminds, and today we have the team from GamesPad, Eran and Constantin. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for
yourselves to the audience. Would you mind just taking a minute just to introduce yourselves to the audience?
Sure. Constantin, you want to start?
No, it's fine. You can go first.
Okay. So my name is Eran Elhanani. I'm a co-founder of GamesPad and Volperks. I've been in the crypto space since 2013, investing in projects. And in the later stage, I had my own crypto fund. I invested in over 100 projects personally.
Wow.
My background is I have a degree in computer science and math, as well as medicine. Worked as an engineer for 5-6 years and then moved into the business world and been involved in real estate investments and traditional VC for the last 15 plus years. And as I said, crypto since 2013. Constantine?
Wow, you've been in the space a long time, Eran.
Relatively. It's all relative, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. And what about you, Constantin?
Sure. So my name is Constantin Kogan. So in terms of education, I usually don't like to speak about it because I had too much of education, which I never applied in real business. My first degree is education. My second degree is a PhD candidate in sociology. Then I went to study product management. And then I ended up to have a degree in economics. So none of it, honestly, I never applied in crypto. So the trading I learned on my own, and then investing since 2012, just in Bitcoin and early stage tokens like Ethereum, and then ended up in the first fund of funds in the crypto space, and we did diligence more than 800 different crypto hedge funds. Always invested on my own, advising projects, wrote some research papers, and was in one of the biggest institutional investment manager in the United States. We had 8.5 billion under management, 7 different sub funds, et cetera, et cetera. And basically, when we met with Eran, we understood that this is it. We know how to change the industry. We know how to apply our skills, our networks to make sure retail investors will have better access.
That's amazing. Both very, very well, highly educated guys and been in the crypto space for a long time. You bring a wealth of knowledge, and I'm really looking forward to chatting to you about it. So how did you guys connect, and how did GamesPad come out of that meeting?
We actually met through a mutual acquaintance. And we saw that there was chemistry from the beginning. I mean, we saw the same things, the same problems in the industry. And as soon as we talked about projects we invested in, we saw that we had a very similar investment thesis, and we invested in many mutual projects. So that's how Volperks was created, which was our first projects, a decentralized VC and a multi-chain launchpad.
Okay.
GamesPad came later because we noticed the trend in the gaming metaverse and NFT world, and we wanted to do something bigger. So we built GamesPad, which is an ecosystem and not just a launchpad. I'll let Constantin continue.
Yeah, I think that's basically it. I mean, we immediately saw that we already have some common backgrounds, some common views on things. But at the same time, differing strength and ability to complement each other, and also uniting different networks and different abilities to scale. So yeah, I mean that's in a nutshell what happened. The rest is history.
Yeah, it's always I think when you find synergy and you find a meeting of the minds, you bring different skills to the party. It's exactly what happened with Key and I in creating Forward, in that we both came from different opinions but had one sort of common vision, And that resulted in Forward Protocol and putting together what we did from our different points of strength. So it sounds like you guys have got a really, really great team. Tell me, with GamesPad, what are the problems that you're trying to solve, and what is the utility of the project?
Constantin, you start.
Okay, so GamesPad is we call it an ultimate gaming metaverse and NFT ecosystem. And we know that ecosystem right now is used left and right, and but we actually are building like something that will serve different groups of people. So the first one is obviously investors who will be able to find the best possible deals in this particular niche, and we'll have a lot of benefits because we're building our own products as well. We're now finalizing, just as we speak, like we're probably a week before we are finalizing NFT marketplace. We're looking to build NFT aggregators, and we're looking to provide opportunities to stake NFTs, to have different types of rewards, even by playing some of the games we will list in our platform. And there are a lot of innovative things we're introducing. But we saw another interesting aspect and a trend, a huge trend, where traditional gaming meets this new metaverse and NFT space. And it actually organically makes sense for any projects to convert their existing game with millions of users, not just a startup, into something that will allow people to participate in their economy actively and have a very practical benefits. So basically playing and earning rewards. So being almost like a quasi shareholder in the company. So that excited us, and this is only I'm only describing only the small part of what GamesPad is. Like, we're incubating, we're investing, we're trying to make sure that our community is happy, and we're developing a lot of features. And yesterday we did AMA with the entire community, making sure that we hear their questions. But again, I can speak about it for long, so I'll let Eran add a few words.
Yeah. So just to add on that. We saw a need in the market and we wanted to address it. We believe that metaverse, NFTs, and gaming is going to be one of the biggest use cases of the blockchain. So we see still a gap between the traditional gaming and the current world, and we want to bridge it. We wanted to bring more exposure, more people, more customers, and improve the quality of the current crypto gaming, to bring them to the standards of the regular games, traditional games. So yeah, that's about it.
Just a matter of interest. What are the stats between the sort of traditional gaming world, people that play normal games, and the crypto world? How's it weighted percentage wise? Do you guys know offhand?
You're talking about the user base, or the $1 billion invested?
Basic users, yeah.
Oh, we're seeing like a very slow transition. It's like they gamify, so to speak, in the crypto terms, like people who actually have tokens and they use it for in-game purchases very early. I mean, think about it, like the layer one solutions that actually support the entire infrastructure is still very very new. There's a lot of things, a lot of rails to be built. There's a lot of infrastructure to be added and improved. The throughput, like the user experience, the speeds on many levels, right now. So yeah, it's still very early, still a tiny percentage of the entire gaming, but the trend is incredible, because this makes so much sense. It's not an artificial addition. It's a very, I would deem it as a very organic evolution of the gameplay. And I used to be a gamer myself, so I can speak very confidently about it, right? And I have a lot of friends who feel the same way. It's like, it's not like if it's going to happen, full transition. The question is when.
Yeah, we're only the beginning. I mean, the percentile of gamers in the crypto space is very minimal at this point. So there's
No,
a
think I
huge
agree with you, yeah.
adoption potentially.
Yeah, massively. I think if you can create that on-ramp, I mean, there are so many people that play normal games that could be brought into the space. It would be a flood of gamers coming in. And Constantine, I think I agree with you. I think it's inevitable. It's something that's going to come. So could you maybe take me through a user journey? If someone was coming from a traditional space and they were coming into your environment, what would that look like? What user journey would they go through? How would they interact? How would they become a part of your ecosystem and utilize what you've built?
So in that sense, we actually built quite an intensive knowledge center. We spend a lot of time and efforts and resources on the customer support and the educational part. We have videos on all the wallets for the different ecosystems, how to use them. We have very simple steps, basically how to for dummies to really like start from day one, how to connect your wallet, how to install a wallet, how to connect your wallet, how to buy tokens, like really from the basics, how to participate in NFT sales and everything. So we're spending a lot of time and efforts on that part.
Yeah. Basically, we have tutorials, the basic onboarding tutorial, right? You know, when you just enter, it takes you 5 to 10 minutes through the only difference, I would say, like from a lot of different like decentralized projects and platforms that we do KYC ML. So we really care about the verified users and making sure that, you know, they are vetted in a certain way, because at the same time, every user for us is also an investor, right? So we care about legal and compliance part. But besides that, it's automated, it takes literally a few minutes, like super user friendly. And after this moment, when you're already logged in and registered, you can purchase, you know, token, or you can purchase an NFT, and that will essentially provide you a tier in the system. So you'll be able to do an allocation, you'll be able to participate in staking and many other interesting things that we're building, you know, now.
So as a user, could I come into the GamesPad ecosystem, start off with zero knowledge and use it as an education platform to educate myself about crypto gaming and how I can actually participate, you know, with setting up a wallet, etc. How long would that take me to actually learn and go through that process?
I guess it's an individual thing, but you have all the resources. So it's up to your speed and how quick you learn new things.
Yeah.
Okay. And Eran, would you say that education is one of the biggest stumbling blocks, one of the biggest bottlenecks in the industry that actually slow people down from coming in and participating and learning?
Of course. I mean, most people don't know what is wallets or how to, you know, how and where to buy tokens. Someone has a call. Yeah. So obviously, I mean, yeah, wallets, tokens, NFTs. Most people have no idea what there are, how to buy them, how to, you know, there are problems with securities. I mean, even with our community, we keep on getting announcements about people that getting hacked or locked out of their wallets, forgot their passwords. So yeah, there's still a lot to learn there. I mean, the technical issues are still not there yet.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, when I talk to Key and we're thinking about how a new person comes into the environment. Your friends are probably the same as mine. When we talk about blockchain and crypto and what have you, a lot of them don't even understand. It's almost like their eyes glaze over, and they, you know, we've got our own lingo on the inside, and I suppose it's our responsibility as projects to create an on-ramp that is very user-friendly and very easy. As you said, Eran, you know, a system for dummies that someone can come into and actually learn. And I know at Forward, that's exactly what we try and do, try and allow Web 2 users to access Web 3 without having to code and, being in that environment. So it's a very easy on-ramp for them. And it sounds like you have a very similar sort of approach with education and what have you. What I'd like to ask you is, obviously, as an industry, we collaborate with a lot of partners, and we're very happy to be hooked up with you guys and working together. What partnerships have you put together that have been instrumental in bringing you to where you are? And where do you see this evolving over the next sort of 3 to 5 years?
I mean, we are part of now, we're just been accepted to Gaming Blockchain Alliance. We have several other alliances, so we're part of. Some of them are public, some of them are not, actually. And there's a reason for that. We are partnering with strategic part. We have, obviously, our investors are our partners because we share the deal flow. We try to maintain relationship and make sure that we have certain standards. How do we support projects? We have key opinion leaders / influencers. So you can consider some of them a big one as a partner because they help a lot with the distribution channel. We have several groups of like guilds, gaming guilds, who are helping also with early adoption, and those are also very important partner to any game. And we have obviously layer 1 solutions, like protocols that are also like yourself, like who are helping us with development support, or they need some other advices for the project that are building on them, whether it's Polygon, Solana, or any others, right? So yeah, well, those are probably the key one. I think maybe if Eran wants to add a few words.
Yeah, I mean, we have also partnership collaborations with some incubators and some other big gaming studios that we're working on projects together. But I want to make sure people understand the word partnership is thrown in crypto very easily. Most partnerships are not really partnerships. People just do a partnership for the sake of an announcement and to try to pump their tokens. There's a difference between me using Microsoft or iPhone or Apple and being their actual partner. So people use partnership very easy. Also collaborate. There is collaboration and there is a partnership. I think that's something that needs to be refined in the space. People need to really learn what is a partnership, what's a collaboration, and what's just usage of another project.
So Eran, maybe
we don't do just partnership and run to announce. We actually want real partnership and real collaborations that will actually enhance both projects. Otherwise, what's the partnership really?
Yeah, that was actually my question. I wanted to ask you, maybe you could just define and outline what you see a partnership is and a collaboration is, because I agree with you. I think it's important to understand who you're partnering with, what the outcome is, and what the expectations are for those two parties, so that you get a beneficial win-win result down the line. So maybe you could just develop that idea a little bit. Let us know, what do you consider as a partner? What do you expect from them? And what sort of an outcome do you expect?
Well, a partnership should enhance both projects. And that is whether it's on the development stages or whether it's on the financial side. So if there is no, in my opinion, monetary, it can't be really a partnership. It has to bring value to the project to make it bigger, more successful, and for the community to get benefits from it. If there is no benefits, then there is no partnership.
To give you maybe a practical example, if it helps, when, let's say, there's an NFT creator, right? And we all know there's a terrible situation right now in the Ukraine happening, but how do we use technology, blockchain technology to help it? So people actually create NFTs for charitable purposes. They have a backup as a company who's vouching for them and saying, this is a legitimate charitable organization, please donate it. They take influencers, for example, in this particular case, Vandals for Ukraine created Vladimir Klitschko. They took like a world-renowned heavyweight box champion that everybody knows, and they took his person, helped to enhance this, as Eran mentioned, and then grow the message, right? And then, now people are talking about it and donating funds. This is only one small application that we're talking about. Then you add payment gateway.
I'm referring more to business partnerships.
No, exactly, but this is only
enhance the projects. So yes. So
then you can add the Apple Pay to your project. I don't know, something like that, or like any crypto to fiat gateway. If you're selling, let's say, your tokens or NFTs, and now people will have an ability to sell it for fiat, right? Without an exchange directly. That can be an interesting partnership, especially if they have a huge reach and your partners who are helping you to also improve the visibility of your asset.
That makes sense. And I suppose you'd have different partners, different partnerships in different stages of the evolution of their business cycles. So, we might be, collaborating on something to start off in a very small way, that as we spend time together and find there's synergies between the teams, it develops into something more meaningful and, can really, benefit both parties. Is that in line with your thinking, Eran?
Yeah, the idea is to get to know each other. Real partnerships are not formed over a day. It's a process. So you start at some point, and if there's chemistry and things work well for both sides, then you expand it.
Yeah, that makes sense. You think about all of the business arrangements that you've started out. There's been no chemistry, and it's just fallen away because there's no intent from either party to follow through. Anyway, I just want to switch gears a little bit and ask you about your token. If you could maybe just explain a little bit about the token and the utility and how a user would interact with it.
So basically our token, in a way, it's a membership club. So it gives you access to tiers. So the more tokens you have access to a higher tier, and you can get bigger allocations in our launchpad. And so in addition, we're actually working on multiple other use cases for the token, including discounts on our NFT marketplace. Also, the more you hold, we also do snapshots of your token holding, and basically all our future projects, because as Constantin mentioned, we have a lot of features in our ecosystem, including in-house gaming studio, which will develop our own games. So the more tokens you will hold, the more airdrops from the future projects that we launch you'll be getting. We also have staking mechanisms, so you get rewards on staking those tokens. So we try to find as many use cases as possible. We're actually working now also on farming pools. So basically you'll be able to farm other tokens when you stake our tokens. So we collaborate with other projects in that sense. So we're trying to find as many use cases for it. I'll let Constantin continue.
Yeah, not a lot to add to the utility. There are certain things which we're planning to launch in closer to, end of Q2, but we unfortunately cannot talk about it right now. But there will be additional utility to our token and creation of let's put it this way, new NFTs, you know, so that's as much as we can say. And then there's also a component of, you know, our ability to attract like new users, right? So we do airdrops for trusted partners and communities. And that's how some of our new users come on board and they buy more tokens because they get excited. That's how they're, you know, their first understanding of who we are. And then they like it and they participate more.
Okay, I mean, you guys talk a lot about NFTs, and it's a really exciting, you know, part of the whole space. You know, from where we've come, where it was just for creators, and where it's evolving to is very exciting, in my opinion. And I look forward to seeing, you know, how the utility develops. Just in general for 2022, and the different types of utility that'll come out of utilizing NFTs in either your ecosystem and just the general environment around you.
Constantin, you wanna?
I heard only part of the question. Sorry, but
okay, yeah, no problem. I'll repeat it. I was just asking about NFTs. You speak about NFTs a lot. You know, the utility of NFTs has changed over the last, the last year, 18 months. How do you see it evolving and the direction it's going to take throughout 2022 and into the future?
Oh, so this is, it's on the one hand complex, but also an easy question. So it evolves with the people's evolution, you know. So basically, whatever utility you wanna add to the NFT, there you can do it. There's multiple creative ways how to transfer an exclusive ownership of something, even physical, not only, by the way, not only necessarily digital. Right now, there are so many creative ways how you can wrap and in the NFT different types of benefits, different types of loan, collateral, like you name it. Like as far as your, like, you know, fantasy, like and creativity can go. Starting from like membership clubs as Bored Apr Club, right, which raise billions of dollars right now, and it's still Vitalik actually to the Times magazine called it that it's just a still funny lottery like tickets, you know, so because it's more like closer to gambling than to real value. However, you see people are buying it. There's a reason. It's mission-driven investors who are having a completely different paradigm of how do they even pick an asset, right? Or let's say an application utility in games. We invest in a lot of games, and there are a lot of great applications of practical NFTs where you buy a character inside the game, and then you buy skins in a form of arms, like, or swords or shields, and they're unique. They're literally non-fungible tokens in a form of a digital asset. It makes you cooler, it makes you better inside the game. So people are already buying this in traditional games anyway. They're just called differently, like coins or points or whatever that may be. Now, these NFTs actually are worth something. And these money not only go directly to the game owners or producers, these money can go to the secondary market, and people can pay double the price because it's so scarce, and you were the early onboarder and you were the early person who started playing this game. Maybe it's gonna be 10x of the price. So this is the beauty. We're unlocking a completely new creators economy Pandora box. And so I will conclude that it's really hard to even predict what can be other utilities right now.
So what are you most excited about of NFTs, Eran?
So to add on what Constantin said, NFT is a wrapper in the bottom line.
Yeah.
Anything can be wrapped around with it. So whether it's art, whether it's financial tools, whether it's gaming assets, whether it's real estate, everything can be wrapped and called an NFT, basically. It's a new, interesting way to be able to fractionalize and basically identify uniqueness. I mean, even watches right now are gonna, instead of those that, you know, they used to show certificates. Same thing with bags, luxury bags. All of them are now giving, basically creating an NFT, and that to show that it's unique. To show basically, in a way, a ledger that will show that it's that this was owned by this specific person and this is the authentic one. So NFTs can become anything. I think that right now most people relate NFT to art, maybe a little bit also to gaming. I think that we are in a bubble. Obviously, that will clear out, but that's always like that. There's always a rush, there's always a bubble, and then things settle and become clearer and become better. So that's what I expect will happen with NFTs as well. I mean, a lot will go to zero. A lot of them will go to zero. A lot of virtual lands, or game assets or stuff like that from games or metaverses that not going to be successful, they might go to zero. On the other hand, some others that will succeed, for example, Decentraland or Sandbox, could be worth fortunes. But it's just like art, paintings. I mean, you know, when you buy it initially from the artist, it has a certain value, and then it can go up or it can go down. So some will do well, some won't, but eventually it will clear up and people will learn how to relate to it better.
Yeah.
I think, you know, talking about it as a rapper is a very nice way of explaining it, because there is a lot of confusion about NFTs and what they are. And most people you speak to just think of it from a creative point of view, either buying a monkey picture or, you know, a CryptoPunk or something like that, all the sort of really hyped up, or buying something in a game. But essentially what it's doing is it's giving you ownership, and then, you know, the transferability rights to transfer the ownership of that asset to somebody else. But what are your thoughts, Constantin?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ron did a good summary. I mean, maybe another use case I can mention that is interesting. Even some governments started to use it as an identity. It can be self-sovereign identity to actually prove that, you know, you are who you are. You know, that's also like, you know, because it digitizes, let's say, the passport or driving license. It can also provide you an verification of your identity, right? Or any other document, let's say ownership for the car, or ownership for a luxury bag, as Ron mentioned.
Real estate, yeah.
Real estate, you name it. So that's the beauty. We're talking about a new standard, not only for transfer of cool art, you know, like pictures or like 2D, 3D, like, you know, some of the motion design things that are happening there. We're talking about a completely new way of transferring the value and identity.
Yeah, I know we're actually working with a project now who's involved with the refugee crisis and identifying places of safe refuge and using an NFT as an identifier. So you're right, it can be used, you know, right across. Our imagination is the only thing that actually limits it, as you said, Eran. It's something that as our intellect as a community grows and our expectation grows, we'll find uses for it, you know, going forward.
Yeah, so
can I ask you guys
one fun thing? One
course.
About the science, you know, NFTs right now even applied in DNA sequence. Some scientists actually added like the concept of NFTs to prove the sequence of the, you know, of the DNA, which is even more fun. Like, you know, when you testing the genome sequence, that's like a whole new level of importance that the data is actually verified. And you either trust a particular research group or you don't. Now you can programmatically prove certain researches, and and make it public, right? So that is also an interesting, you know, use case.
Yes, I think establishing that ability and then utilizing that, the verifiable aspect of it, just brings the authenticity and the trust through. And as we develop in the industry, it's going to be more and more so, which makes it a lot more of an honest system where people can verify, especially people that aren't educated, and with utilizing very easy templates and tools to interact and find and fetch the data and verify the authenticity of it, it provides a lot of utility to them. Could you guys just maybe give me some ideas about what do you think the bottlenecks are that are slowing down adoption? I mean, we've spoken about amazing utility with NFTs, the possibilities of it. Why aren't, so many more industries and companies jumping in and utilizing the power of the technology? What are the bottlenecks slowing it down?
Just like everything, it's bureaucracy. It's, basically every of the companies in the world is starting to get into it, but a big company or even a government or a bank, all the institutions, to make a change takes months to years to make anything. Many of them were very resistant in the beginning, but now, the floodgate was opened. So at this point, they all have to jump in at one point. So I think the adoption is growing faster and faster. I think we passed the no return point. So I think everyone will get into the crypto and the blockchain within the next year or two.
Yeah. So if I may add, just I think there are also several factors, as we mentioned before. Is that in fact is user experience as well. It's still pretty complex, to actually navigate the Web3 technologies. Let's be honest, there's not many user-friendly apps, and it's being built. We have to understand the entire infrastructure is not fully ready. So let's be honest, this is one of the challenges, and it will take a few years to build, right? So only people who we call degens, or who they are more technically savvy, so to speak, right? They're able to navigate it faster, right? Then we have, so that's technical challenges, right? We can talk about, I'm not going to even start about low scalability or lack of other speeds, or not even energy consumption that people are screaming about, carbon emissions from Bitcoin, etc. So not even about that, but I think another important factor is also myths that are, part of the blockchain. That's part of, we talked about education. Right now, people still in their head, still a big number of people are associated with criminal activity or any other things that are, you can easily lose access to your wallet and you lost all your money, right? And things like that, stories like that. And the question that is it's just lack of privacy. So they come in from, again, lack of knowledge of how it works. So we as an industry are trying to simplify it, make it user-friendly, faster, easier, like 2 clicks of a button, similar to as you use any other application. If it's banking, right? You don't care how their backend is working. What you care is that you click a button and it does exactly what it says, not 10 times click there, or not go through a lot of hoops to even start understanding anything. Yeah.
Also, it's a matter of regulation. It's a matter of regulation. I mean, all the countries are looking into it. There is no consistency. I mean, each country is in a different phase about the regulation, whether it's the US, whether it's Europe, whether it's Asia. Each continent has their own. We're seeing it with the KYC restrictions on many countries. I mean, and it's just expanding. China, Russia were added recently. So obviously that holds back a lot of people from joining in. But I still believe that eventually all the countries will get in and will finalize their regulation. And then companies, once they have clear instructions and clear regulations, will be able to get in. Because until then, you know, they're compliance officers of all these big corporations. They don't know what to tell them. So there is still fear, there is still confusion, no clear guidelines, but you know, I think it will be sorted out eventually.
Mhm.
Yeah, Eran, I think you read my mind. I was actually going to ask you about legislation. So very, very well, you know, thought out point and brought out there. You know, I think we've seen that, you know, recently with legislation, you know, tending in the way, especially in DeFi, we find a lot more traditional organizations and institutions coming in. And I'm sure there's so much money sitting on the outside waiting to come in, but just because of corporate governance, it can't. It's just not allowed access into the space. Do you think that when they start getting legislation right in DeFi and they open the doors for institutions like normal mainstream institutions to come in, that could really help facilitate the onboarding and the adoption into the space of huge amounts of funds and, you know, many, many more users? Do you think that'll help?
Of course. I mean, I think we've seen it. The more, you know, you see family offices, you see banks, you see hedge funds, you see traditional VCs all starting to look to get in. I mean, a lot of them are creating their own vehicles, crypto vehicles. So we're starting to see the funds coming in, and this is just the beginning. I mean, the flood is still not here yet, but it will come once all the regulations will be sorted out. But that's more Constantin's specialty, so I'll let him talk about it.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, we it's already happening, and it will happen on a massive scale. It's it's no longer an option. You see, when an asset class crosses a certain Rubicon, which is 10 years, so CFOs of the companies and like people who are in charge of treasuries, whatever, they have to pay attention. Bitcoin as an asset class is the best performing asset class in the decade, right? You cannot ignore it. If you ignore it, what happens to them? Like their board is coming to them and say, guys, like, you know, we understand you have your skepticism, whatever you might think about it, but you cannot like ignore it and not allocate at least 0.5%, at least 1%. You cannot. You'll be fired because you're ignoring the numbers. You see, there are people who are like quants or people who are they're agnostic to any investment. You know, they look at the numbers, they analyze them every day. That's their like main job. So it's the best performing asset class. You have to allocate something. And when we're talking about institutions like BlackRock, something might be, you know, a few $1 billion to begin with, you know, that's just only one organization. Now we see also another interesting trend. I'm sure some of your listeners who are following the MicroStrategy story and then followed by Tesla and others, where public companies are putting on their balance sheet, on their treasury, you know, Bitcoin as part of their investment. So you're talking about an interesting, like a Trojan horse. We're coming to S&P 500 companies, adding their Bitcoin, and basically people who buy, if you're buying Tesla right now, let's say as a stock, you are basically indirectly a holder of a Bitcoin through their treasury. And same happens now with a lot of institutional funds, as Eran mentioned also, let's say some pensions funds are coming in. We're talking about like funds that are employment, like they're paying, like some insurance funds as well are getting it into their balance sheets. So it's not like if we have an option, it's the question, who's going to be faster and who will understand that with this math, basically Bitcoin most likely will pass the mark by the end of the year, will power a mark of 80,000 to 100,000. And by 2025, if it will continue the same way, we're talking about potentially more than like $250,000.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting time ahead of us. And it's exactly, you know, as you described, is that I don't think we can ignore it. And I don't think just even by investing in traditional vehicles we'll be able to, because if they're holding it in their treasury and it's on their balance sheet, then indirectly we are investors and holders of, some, asset in a cryptocurrency, which is really good. And that comes back down to what we discussed before, which is the education and helping people understand how to get into the market and to learn about it and to make responsible decisions as they're learning. If I could ask you guys just in a couple of minutes to give me some final thoughts, whether it's around your project or around the industry, if you could go ahead and do that, that'd be great. Thanks.
Sure. Eran?
I'll let you start.
I trust you.
Well, that's a good endorsement, Eran.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess if I'm starting, so listen, I mean, we've been around, we've seen the cycles. I mean, we've been through a few cycles actually. So at this point, we don't get too excited when we see Bitcoin going down or Ethereum crashing a little bit. We've been there, done that. There's always going to be cycles. The thing is that you notice that the lows are getting higher and the highs are getting higher. And any investor, when he sees these, will recognize the pattern that it's just going to go up. It's just going to improve. So whether there'll be more setbacks and stuff like that, I'm sure there'll be new regulations that's not going to be good for crypto. There'll be certain bans. There'll be a lot of scams in the space. I mean, there are a lot right now, but in the big picture, it's not going anywhere. It's just going to grow bigger and bigger until mass adoption. So we want to be there and we want to help people get onboarded and get educated as soon as possible and introduce them to the exciting world of crypto and gaming, metaverse. And we hope to be a big player in the upcoming future with our ecosystems and our launchpad. And we are here to grow and build. When market is down, great time to build. We just keep on building. We don't take vacations. So yeah, I'll let Constantin finalize it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we live in really exciting times. Crypto is like money reinvented. It's also blockchain as a technology is decentralized and distributed, and the transition of this Web 2 culture to Web 3, where we're going to see the storage of the data will be like more secure and more distributed and faster, right? The entire protection of the data will be done in a much more transparent and fair way. We're talking about the decentralized way of investing and distribution of yields and profits, which is also beautiful and more fair. We're talking about multiple applications where these technologies, they do make sense. It's no longer some kind of fairy tale or geek economy. It is part of the global culture, and that is what is so exciting and inspires us, because we universities like finance used to be like a very prestigious the course you take. So I predict soon we're going to have DeFi as a course, like in all universities. Like decentralized finance will be a very prestigious course, and it will be only for top-notch people. It's going to happen inevitably. We're already seeing all the Ivy League universities are getting blockchain course. I mean, this is not for no reason. Yeah? So this is already happening, and they all get it that either they will educate themselves really fast and evolve, or there will be other people who will basically pave the future of economy, the future of how wealth will be redistributed. So we live in amazing times where this wealth transition creates a lot of opportunities. So we wish everyone who's watching it to be wealthy. Please come to our platform. We'll be happy to be your gateway. And yeah, thank you so much for doing this, Mitch.
Yeah, I've loved chatting to you guys. You bring experience, and you bring level heads, which is so important in this space, and you bring a long-term vision. And I think those three things together are a winning formula in anybody in the space if they were looking to be a success. So guys, thanks so much. Eran, Constantin, really, really amazing chatting to you this afternoon, and look forward to connecting in the future. Thanks for being our guests.
Thank you.
So much.
Cheers.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.